Thank you for staying with Daybreak, and the State of the Nation is here. And my guests are with me, Honorable Dan Manzo, Senator for Makueni, Charles Owino, Head of the National Communications Center, and Joshua Nyamori, Advocate and Governance Expert. Dr. Kuro Court sent in his apologies. He couldn't make it today. He'll join us next week. Thank you all for making time. Now let's take a look at the dailies. Showdown, Ruto's blue-eyed boy, all of it awash with the changes. The President William Ruto finally fired Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi after months of defiance and direct confrontation, in a move that now puts him at a fresh political dilemma, with the hostile Mount Kenya region. Picking a sitting MP as his replacement also gives his former deputy Rigathi Gachagua an opportunity for a muscle-flexing face-off in a by-election. And Nyamori, I'll start with you on this. After seeing these changes in the CES positions now, was this a calculated move or a miscalculation? Was it wise or a miscalculation?
That is the point, the dropping of...
Yes, the dropping of the Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi, replacing him with Ruku, and now moving Edan Duale from Environment to Health and taking Debra Baraza from Health to Environment.
I think it's the war strategist, Sun Tzu, who says it is he who knows when to fight and when not to fight. President William Ruto is demonstrated the fact that he's a master of timing. He has dropped the former CS when he feels that it is fit to drop him, and taken in a new entrant from the same region. So for me, I think it works for him. Is it a proper timing at a time when he's supposed to visit the Mount Kenya region? Indeed, because he has not lost any constituency in the circumstances. He's brought in a young, vibrant, popular politician to take over that space. In any case, with tremendous respect, because he's my senior in the profession. The former CS was lackluster and lacked energy. The younger, new nominee comes in with a lot of energy, a lot of vibe, and has touch of the ground. In fact, you could tell that he was appointed when he was actually down on the ground engaging the people. Okay. Yeah. Manzo, is this a wise move or a miscalculation?
It's a serious miscalculation. First of all, William Ruto has destroyed the political life of Ruku. Ruku was a creation of Muturi, and he was actually sponsored by his party. Now, when he becomes a cabinet secretary, I can assure you, Ruku will never be re-elected, because Ruto's regime will soon come to an end. Ruku will never be re-elected again by the Bere people. And Muturi is not a political featherweight. This is a person who has really helped this country. He's been a speaker and third in command for 10 years, and understands every single sphere of the Kenyan government, has been an Attorney General of the Republic, whose legal advice was never taken by the executive. And most unfortunate, and this was the cause of the fallout, the government of President Ruto abducts his son while they sit together in cabinet and while they sit together in security. And therefore, as an influential Kenyan, he's able to recover his son. Most parents, close to 100, have not recovered their son. I really want to say that this abduction thing, which is what has caused a problem between Ruto and Muturi, is a very serious crime locally and internationally. And you can see that, like, the abducted Wanjia MCA took away 8 months. And I was lucky to represent some of the abductees, you know, like Bob Jaggi, who will tell you the story, and who tells you even met these other people who were abducted. So why will you abduct Muturi's son? If he has committed any crime, take him to court and jail him, and he will have an opportunity. The prosecution will have an opportunity to say what crime he committed, and he will defend himself, and he will even have a right of appeal. But you cannot abduct, you know, hold somebody legally, and then, you know, expect to have a good time with that particular person unless you tender an explanation. Okay. So the abduction question is still legally. It's a very serious crime against humanity. Yeah. The government is committing it. It continues to commit it every day. It is spoiling our international name. And therefore, Muturi comes out as a proud man who has stood for first of all, for the right of his own child and for the rights of other people's children, for rights of Kenyans. On this particular one, the government of William Ruto is very wrong. It has broken the law, it has broken the constitution, and in fact, I doubt. You know now that President Ruto opposed the current constitution. There's no single day, even as a president, he has applied the constitution. Every other time, he is applying his own word. And not the constitution at all. And therefore, he has made a very serious blunder. In fact, these tours to the regions are a waste of time, waste of money. They need to develop the regions, not to tour them. Now he's going to force himself into central Kenya. And I am very sure, even if you buy the people, you bribe the people, and you got to pretend that you are doing a development because they have no budget for it and they have not completed any single projects. Any of the Vision 2030 projects, none of them has progressed during the Ruto's time, beginning with Thwake Dam, Konza City, all those projects in central Kenya. Even the roads, nothing. It's just going to be on the rooftops, it's just campaigning. For 20, all that Ruto wants is to be re-elected, but not develop the country. There's no single development record. So if it's true, even if you bring in Ruku, he has no people on ground, he has no voters on ground. Keep him there at the national level for the next 2 years, and you have destroyed his life permanently. Okay.
Charles, was this reshuffle a miscalculation or a wise move?
Thank you. First of all, I start with Mbeere North as a constituency. You know, in 2013, the former CS lost to Honorable Mnangagwa.
Changagwa with 13 votes.
You're fine, he lost. He lost. I'm happy you are keeping record. He lost to Changagwa in 2013. In 2017, Changagwa was again re-elected. And for all that period, President Uhuru and his deputy gave him a very lucrative position as a speaker for that period of time. 2022, Ruku, yes, was in Muturi's party. He was highly sponsored because Muturi was fighting Changagwa. And Changagwa was in UDA. And Ruku won by about 520 votes again. And therefore, it's a very good opportunity for Changagwa, who is very popular in Mbeere North, to try opportunity this time.
But don't in UDA.
Reclaim his party. It doesn't matter. What is important is he reclaims his position. The strategy for Ruku, he's a first-time parliamentarian. He's a minister now. And I can tell you, politics is dynamic. And I'm not surprised. I will not be surprised tomorrow if you see Mheshimiwa here supporting Ruto, if the circumstances. No, people, people have sworn.
Yeah.
But in politics, my dear brother, you don't swear. I know where you are currently. The politics, the ground, what you are speaking is ground. Unasikiza ground. That is not what you believe in. I know you. You are a very good friend and you are a humble man. in fact, these are strong believers of Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga. So, and you can see them calling him. In Luo, we say kuri kuri. They are asking Mzee, come, we make you president. Because they are strong believers of Raila Odinga. So, this strategy of removing Muturi, I don't think Honorable Muturi was removed from cabinet. I think Honorable Muturi dropped the position. And he's also a politician, strategic, because he thinks Mount Kenya has gone away from the president. And I'm sure he's looking forward to be a governor for Embu. I'll not be surprised if he runs for that position. But I would also not be surprised if he goes back today to run for the position which Ruku has left. So this is politics at play. But the end of it will be 2027. By the time we reach 2027 at the ballot, that is the time you can tell me this is now the rearrangement, this is Team A, this is Team B, this is Team C.
So for now,
so as it stands, it's still, people are putting in their cards. And if you look at this standard headline, Ruto's blue-eyed boy, talking about Duale, it's a very strategic appointment, because what is lacking in Ministry of Health is explanation, somebody coming out to explain the universal health care, somebody who is not timid, somebody who is strong, somebody who can. And Duale has the ability to explain himself, and that is what the president is looking at. You will hear many Kenyans talk about SHA, SHIF. If you ask them what is SHA, what is the difference between Social Health Authority, Social Health Act, what is the difference between SHIF and NHIF, what is the difference, what is universal, what is primary health care fund, what is critical emergency and chronic illness fund, what is infrastructure development fund. Many Kenyans still don't understand, and this is what is causing the confusion. Yeah. And therefore, picking on Duale, Honorable Duale, as a minister in the ministry is simply to have a person who can communicate, who can explain the position of government, because what we are lacking is people understanding what we are going through in the Ministry of Health. Okay. Otherwise, I think for Muturi, I don't think it was the president's wish to remove him, but given the decision he had taken to leave government, and therefore trying to provoke the president to ensure that he is removed to gain public sympathy, is exactly what he has done. But time is still long, time will tell. This is politics, but what I want to remind every Kenyan, that at the end of the day, this is our country. Yeah. We can have our political differences, we can have our side discussions, but most importantly is we focus. I've always said the presidency is different from the sitting president. The sitting president is a temporary position. He will be there for 5 years, God willing, get a renewal for 10 years, or he can even still leave. But the circumstances that are putting, as I've seen Honorable Mwanzo has said very well, that there's no money to do the projects. He knows where the money went before 2022. But I know he cannot speak about it now. Okay. But coming in future, because all of us may sit on one seat one day, and being a good friend, he will be able to explain to Kenyans where when they were properly...
Seems there's something you know that you don't, because you keep saying you come to that side.
Yes. So what is there is that one time, because he knows where Kenyan money went to, up to mid-2022, he knows why the president is struggling to improve this economy. And thank God, we had him, and he was in the previous government. And as he struggles painfully to improve on the economy, he also understands. What the president is avoiding is to open wounds, because whatever had happened, and we need to move forward as a country. We need to look at how do we improve on the economy of this country together as a team. Okay. Life is temporary, life is short. Let us be focused on how we can improve the economy of our country. Right. Equally, it's not wrong to criticize. Because as you criticize, and that is why opposition is a big factor in our constitution. Okay. There must be a government, there must be opposition, and the opposition has a duty to say what they think is not right, and government listens. Okay. And that is why even what we have just discussed about IDs, the government listened and said, let's remove these costs to enable every Kenyan to register, because this is mandatory for services. This is important for planning the country. Okay, let me bring Nyamuri, and you can react to what the two have said. But there's one thing that also Mwanzo said, that these regional tours are unnecessary. From a governor's perspective, are they really unnecessary?
You see, the presidency is the symbol of unity. The presidency needs to touch base with every region in Kenya, with the various stakeholders on the ground. In fact, if you look at our constitution, it behoves the leaderships to always be in consultations with the people and to listen to the views of the people. In the trips around the country, the president is able to engage the various stakeholders, is able to listen to the various leaders, is able to then focus on the issues that are affecting that various region. Because Kenya is a big country. And in any case, you've seen the president does not just visit and address media. He holds, regional, he holds cabinet meetings in those areas. And in each and every one of those cabinet meetings, there is normally an area-specific issue that he addresses. He's going to Mount Kenya now. I am sure that in the cabinet communication after that, there would be some communication about agriculture, about coffee, about infrastructure in that region, about, tourism to Mount Kenya and so on and so forth. So it is critical. He has done that in the coast, he has done that in the Lake region, and so on and so forth. So in my view, the tours are critical. We cannot have a presidency that is, only exists in Nairobi. President Moi used to take road tours around the country. And they would return to Nairobi after several weeks. And I think it is just proper so that, every part of the country feels the presidency. Yeah. In my view, the accusations about lack of development is neither here nor there. I would agree with my senior and brother, Owino, when he says that the opposition know exactly what happened to Kenya. The president came into office when we were going through an economic crisis, and we must thank him. We must recognize the fact that he has stabilized the economy. The macroeconomic fundamentals of this country have been stabilized, and those are records, those are data that are available, and so it will take time for us to resolve issues like employment that have been, a crisis for very many years and building over the years. Yeah. What Kenya needs is for us to work together to resolve these issues. And that's why, for me, I support the move by the president to bring the various stakeholders together, irrespective of their ethnic and political affiliations, because we are at a point where we all need to participate and own the strategies and the plans that we place forward to move this country to the next level. Okay. And I think that's what the president is trying to do. Yeah. That is why, even as he replaced the former CS, he has brought in somebody from DP. Even as he added more, he reorganized government and brought in more people to push the themes of equality, equity, fair representation. What he has done is ensure that no one loses for another one to benefit. For me, I think those are things we should celebrate.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to next. And Manzo, let me bring you in what Nyamuri has just kicked off there. Before this reshuffle, there was an appointment of PSs. 7 new state departments were created. Is that an attempt at enhancing efficiency or an attempt at accommodating the broad-based arrangement?
These are signs and symptoms of a collapsed government. You remember in June 25th, when Parliament was overrun, the president dissolved cabinet and resulted into broad-based government. In other words, he killed his own government. He's the one who formed government with his political party. Are you telling me Kenya Kwanza doesn't have enough brains to run the government? That's what it turned out to be, that the president has chosen many people who are incompetent. And I'll tell you, as a member of parliament, I have seen these CSs come before the House. Most of them are clueless as to what they are coming to do. Most of the PSs, in fact, the bigger trouble is with the PS, with the PSs. In fact, even this excuse of a collapsed economy or things, William Ruto had been the deputy president that knows every single thing of their government for 10 years. And you know what had happened, even when Kibaki got a government which had troubles, financial troubles, within 100 days, he had stabilized. In fact, the day he was sworn as president, the dollar stabilized. because it is, business and the mood of the people are very important on the motivation and the hope given to the people by a government. So what happened is that after June 25th, there was no government. In fact, President Ruto was given 2 days to sign the bill, and then he himself will face the music at State House. Meaning Kenyans, who are the sovereign owners of the power, had taken over their country, and they have been unhappy what has happened. Now, Raila Odinga was kind enough to stabilize him, because he realized we are not going to have a nation if we went on the way things went on. And he has given him people like the Honorable Bandi, experts, although Bandi cannot be better than Professor Ndungu, who was his own professor. So the problem may not be the CSS and the PSS. The problem is also elsewhere. But at the same time, we have a lot of incompetent PSS and CSS. In fact, the only person I will say knows his job very well is Duale. From the presentations of Duale, even when he was in defense, even when he was leader of majority, even now when he was in environment, he brought 6 regulations which he had thoroughly researched, complied with the law completely. A lot of PSS and CSS present to us material which is substandard, which is illegal. Then sometimes the government forces the House to pass. And that's what happened with Shah and Shi. That law is defective. As much as you put Duale there, the best expert Ruto can get, there is a big problem with Shah and Shi. You must tell us what happened to NHIF. We want Duale now to arrest the criminals in NHIF. Yeah. Whoever stole money from Kenyans is known and is living in this country. Okay. Prosecute them. The government has enough power to do so. Prosecute them and recover the money and bring it back to Kenyans. Now, Duale must also tell us, how come something costs 104 billion shillings? I am very sure that thing cannot cost even 50 million shillings. Okay. It is exaggerated. There was no, proper method. The law was never followed. As I told you, this government never followed the Constitution. Okay. The Constitution was never followed. The law in place was never followed. How did you procure this thing, which is giving everybody a headache? You are collecting money from poor people and paying for a thing which no one knows what it is exactly or what's the real value. That value should be public knowledge. Yeah. And therefore, Honorable Duale has a lot of challenges. I want to tell you the problem was not Nakuminja. The problem is not the current Levy CS, who is a medical doctor. Mm-hmm. In fact, we have so many experts in this country. Okay. It is even wrong for the Ministry of Health to be headed by a PS or a CS. At least one of them should have a background in the medical field. Yeah. So I believe Duale is up to task. Yeah. The only functional CS in the whole government is the Honorable Duale. The rest, I'm sorry, they are not functional. Okay. The problem with the Treasury is the PS Treasury. He's the most incompetent PS you have ever seen. I've been in Parliament for many years. I've interacted with his PSs. Every time you visit Treasury, you find him clueless. You find his team uncoordinated. You find them without information and unable to fund simple projects like Itwake Dam. Yeah. They just mismanage the country. So there is a bigger problem. Yeah. And that's why Raila Odinga is very important, just to hold, Ruto to cripple to 2027, because we conduct elections after 5 years. Then we can send him home and we can have a better country. We can reclaim our country. Okay. Our country is lost. So,
what is wrong? Is this an inclusion and an efficiency attempt or an attempt at political survival, the creation of the 7 new state departments?
Before I go to that, he talked about Mbadi and Professor Ndungu. We must appreciate Professor Ndungu as a professor in matters economics and finance. But it's also important to understand that paperwork and practical work are 2 different things. The difference between Honorable Mbadi and Professor Ndungu is Professor Ndungu is not a politician at all. Mbadi is a politician. And communication is a very important factor, even in a family. How you communicate, how you present yourself in terms of what you mean. So our biggest problem, our biggest challenge has been communication. If you look at even the explainers that Treasury put, they are so technical to an extent that individuals may not be able to understand simple concepts that those things mean. So I want to say that we appreciate Professor Ndungu, but equally we appreciate that Mbadi comes in with political acumenship, ability to communicate, and therefore for wananchi to understand whatever he's doing. Equally, if you talk about Kibaki stabilizing the economy, what was our budget as at 2002? It was only 324 billion compared to our current budget, which is 3 trillion. Managing that huge difference in budget, when you're talking about trillions and billion, is also tactful. And also there are many other factors. Equally, President Kibaki came in with a government that was highly popular, with very many people. He was spoilt of choice on who to pick in his government. You are aware that President Ruto faced a very complicated campaign where a very popular opposition leader, Honorable Raila Odinga, was together with President Ruto. And that meant that every competent, every good person, everybody, majority of the people believed that the team for the president and the popular opposition leader would win. President Ruto remained with a few people. And basically, usually what happens in politics is that people want to know your truthfulness as you work. You worked with a team. When you form government with your team. Today, I'm sure, if Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka makes a government, I expect to see this gentleman as Minister for Justice, because he is the man who stands here for the Kalonzo wing every day. I don't expect him to be thrown away. So what has happened is that with time, in trying to include, you know, the community I come from is a very unique community. Yeah. That when they are in opposition, all of them are in opposition. When they are in government, all of them are in government. Unlike Honorable Mwanzo's community, yeah, where half of them are in government, half of them are out of government. And we have suffered exclusivity, to be excluded every time when we are not in government. And he has said, Honorable Raila Odinga has come in to support government to ensure that we don't collapse. Because if we allow this government to collapse, as some would wish, you pick a dead animal, you're not going to eat it. It's dead. Yeah. Are you getting me? So all of us as a country, and I said, yeah, let's move forward, support the president to stabilize the economy of the country, no matter what you think about him. And we are getting maturer because people are now discussing issues. Yeah. We are now not discussing overthrowing the government through the back door, unnecessary demonstrations, banning things. No, yeah, we are not a banana republic. We can look at what has happened to countries around us, how much they have suffered. So if we continue this way and we discuss matters logically until we come to elections, whatever happens during that election, we are still one Kenya. We are one country, and we need to move forward. Issues of creating other state departments, number one, it could be for purposes of efficiency, and it would also be for purposes of inclusivity, yeah, bringing in other people to work together with government. We must say the truth that we are still quite tribal, we are still quite regionally divided, we are still quite ethnic, and it will take a bit of time for us to improve on this. And therefore, balancing and playing politics, yeah, still works. And if we stop threatening, Honorable Mwanzo, don't wake up every morning and threaten the president. Oh, we will chase you, we'll do this. No,
we are not threatening.
What I'm saying
we are opposing his government.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Oppose. But
you can't threaten the owner of the power of the country.
Let me tell you.
He's the one with instruments of power.
Yes, we need to.
He's the one with abductors, he's the one with the guns. There's nothing I can do unless God protects me.
We need to embrace the presidency and the president and work together as a country, yeah, to ensure that there is cohesion, there is unity. Okay. When it comes to the ballot, yeah, let's speak at the ballot. And let me tell you, even if you are made president today, you'll carry all this burden. And you will need all of us to ensure that we work as a nation, yeah, we work as a team, we drive our country together. And I'm telling everyone here, yeah, life is so temporary that with the little we have, yeah, we must be able to ensure that there's peace, there's security, and we enjoy as much as possible before our time comes.
All right. Nyamuri, you're the one who raised this, you kicked this bucket earlier on when you talked about the PSS and the efficiency. There are two schools of thought. One, that this creation of the new 7 state departments is an attempt at inclusivity and efficiency. But there's also the other flip side that says this is just an attempt at political survival, and it is extravagant for the government at a time when everybody is saying that we need to tie our belts. Which one makes more sense?
I would want to, reward your second part of it. I don't think the president is looking for political survival at this moment. The government is stable. Stability of government in between elections is, would be measured by the ability of government to pass bills in parliament, but also that, the citizens are able to go about their businesses without much ado. Compare this to during the Mandamano, the ODM Mandamano days. So I think we passed that, we crossed that bridge. And the president is simply seeking inclusivity. And every day the president speaks about it and says that we need to bring everybody on board. This government belongs to all of us, irrespective of which ethnic group and which political party you come from. But then the president has also spoken to efficiency in his reorganization of the government. For instance, while both of them are means of transport, there is very little linkage between road transport and aviation. And that aviation might need some expert, attention, as opposed to, the attention that is required in building and maintaining of roads. So while they may be under the same ministry, it would just be important to have specific people deal with that. I am opposed. I don't agree with those who say that, by bringing in these new dockets, then we are increasing expenditure in government. We don't need to, because in any case, those various dockets existed within those ministries, only that PSS were in charge of various dockets. And so the government has vehicles as offices and other infrastructure that they can use. So there would be a very minimal increment on government expenditure. I would, try to invite Honorable Manzo to look at what is working that was not working in Kenya, and to join the rest of the country in this great endeavor. I respect their political lineage, but then the Constitution requires that we all, the public service be the face of Kenya. And the face of Kenya should speak to political and ethnic orientation. So I still believe that there is space for Kalonzo Musyoka to be consulted and for to send Honorable Manzo and a few of other people from East region to join government. It doesn't, you lose nothing by doing that. In any case, they have been part of, building other coalitions and other political formations previously. And I would want to join my brother, in asking my brother, Honorable Manzo, to not swear, because we have been in this country. I have followed him since 2003, and I know that he has, been able to change his political direction several times, depending on the mood and the wave. And the mood and the wave of the country right now is that we need to unite as a country. We need to bring everybody on board. We need to sort out the problem that is in Kenya. Yeah. And we need this sorting it out. We have rights, yeah, and we have obligations as Kenyans to work together towards that solution.
Manzo, what is wrong with creating the State Department for Children Welfare Services, for example? Because that's one of the state departments that was created.
I want to say that the department has always been there. In fact, it's a very huge department, and quite a number of children in the country suffer. And there's been a little bit of improvement with the coming up of counties, and also part of the Ministry of Labor has that department. And the counties have really taken care of street children. That's why you don't see a lot more of them. And if you see them, after a few days, they will have been taken to a place. Yeah. They can be assisted either by the church. The Catholic Church has done a lot of this. The Catholic sisters are bringing up a lot of children collected from the streets. But I want to say that as a department, it's been there. It's not that now is for purposes of...
Yes, now.
For purposes, it has even directors. You know the government, and this is how President Kibaki was successful. The President Kibaki promoted people who were senior in government to become PSs. And he did not really fetch people out there. And I want to say that particular department, even the Ministry of Gender or Department of Gender, what has happened is some people have been moved away, so others have to be appointed. And therefore, that's perfectly in order to make sure those departments work. What is bad in this country, and the Honorable Body has admitted to it, is corruption. There is too much corruption today in Kenya, and no one is fighting it. In fact, the only person who was attempting to fight corruption, the chairman of EACC, an amendment was brought to the act in Parliament to sack him. The only person fighting corruption. So you leave the chairman and the CEO below their EACC is actually advancing corruption, and is part of the corruption in the country. And therefore, if the president is not going to deal with corruption at all, then he has no nation. You can pretend as you want to pretend. You can run around the country on rooftops. You may refuse to sit down in the office and work. But so long as you are not dealing with corruption, and that's why the president does not understand the youth of this country at all. And the evidence is that when Parliament was hit, his first statement that evening was some criminals have gone to, to Parliament. And later on, when they were doing abductions, they gave Raila Odinga a lot of trouble when he was running for AU. Because when he went to South Africa, the journalists were there, telling him, what is this story of abductions in Kenya? What have you done about it? Of course, ODM reacted immediately. And Anyang' Nyong'o said, unless the government stops abduction, we are not with you. Today's government of Ruto is hanging on Raila's lips. In fact, Ruto has no government anymore. He has handed over all the power to Raila Odinga. The only thing he's left with is a sword, which is in State House. The rest of the sovereign power of the people, Ruto is not controlling even one of them. And therefore, his luck for now is Raila Odinga. If Raila Odinga decides to withdraw today, most probably Ruto will even be impeached as a president and will never have a chance to run this country or any public affairs in the future. So he must handle the country well. He must correct, and Raila Odinga is correcting him from inside. And I am very sure if he's unable to manage him, he will announce to the country and will do the necessary changes in this country. The people of Kenya and God are in charge of this country, not William Ruto. In fact, William Ruto is the biggest problem in Kenya today, which Kenyan people should be able to handle. If he does not want to listen, he must deal with corruption instantly. That's where the biggest problem is. He must, deal with issues afflicting Kenyans. Share and shift is big corruption, master plan. He must dismantle it and explain to the people what it is. And I hope Honorable Duale is going to do that. All of us want a good nation. Yeah. All of us want a good president. All of us are giving him time to change. All of us are giving him time to improve. But 2.5 years, he's still reorganizing government. President Kibaki had a stable government. You are appointed minister and you serve for years. If there is a necessity for reshuffle, you still equally bring in competent people. Okay. What we are seeing are incompetent people in government, okay, and most important, ruled by corruption. If we had a problem like the one, let me finish on this one. We had, call all those 8 million, 10 million Kenyans criminals. Which courts will you try them? For what offenses will you charge them? The criminals are the leaders. We have no parliament. Parliament is totally compromised. Institutions are being weakened. We can see the weakening of judiciary. We can see the weakening of tribunals. We can see the weakening of government institutions. That is what should be built and made strong. I know President Ruto, if he wants to do it, he can do it. But unfortunately, he has been unable to stop corruption so far.
Charles, I'll give you a chance to respond before I take feedback.
You know what is surprising me?
Yeah.
Is that Honorable Mwanzo is criticizing the ministers, saying they are useless. You know, they said a long time. So every time they criticize, the president tries to reshuffle. Every time. At the same time, he's complaining. Why are you reshuffling them? Even now, you have said they are not competent. He will still reshuffle them. So, you know, Honorable Mwanzo is culprit. But Honorable Mwanzo, you are a member of parliament being in the Senate. I don't know whether you really understand the Social Health Act, the Social Health Authority. And you understand, I don't know whether you understand the funds which are there, because it is the Social Health Insurance Fund that is similar to the different NHIF, because people make contributions to it. A number of Kenyans...
And people steal the money.
No. Yeah, that is a different thing. We don't demonize a good thing for the wrong things an individual may be doing. Because the NHIF, if you had to pay, if today you had to go to hospital and pay, you had to wait for 6 months. I can testify, I went to hospital about a month ago, took my father-in-law. He didn't have the contribution. I made only 6,000 given his age 82 of 6,000. And when I went for CT scan, they took up the cost. When he was in hospital for a week, they paid 55 out of 120,000. And it is not only me. Very many Kenyans, I can say, you need to go back to your constituency. And what we need also to do is that we need to understand that apart from the Social Health Insurance Fund, which is SHIF, we have the primary health care, which ought to be free, level 1, 2, 3, though they have now pushed it to level 4. Honorable Mwanzo, you should support us with the members of parliament that you know, that how do we ensure that the 58 billion meant for primary health care is dispersed, even if it means taking away some development money. I should be seeing you in the floor of the House advocating that let us have more money taken for primary health care, let us have labs, let us have chemists in this primary health care. We have the emergency, the critical and chronic illness fund. This is a new thing in the universal health care, which also money is allocated directly from Treasury and adjudicated by Parliament for this money to be brought in. Today, I know you have you are insured to go to Nairobi Hospital or Aga Khan, but if you have a problem in the remote region where you come from, you need to be stabilized. And that is why we need to develop these hospitals. And the Emergency and Chronic Illness Fund is supposed to support those who have Social Health Insurance Fund and they have exhausted, like let's say in chemotherapy. Yeah. And then we have the Hospital Development Fund on this. My brother, there is no child that is born and he speaks the same day. The universal health care is run. If there is issues of corruption, address the issues of corruption. Address these issues in the floor of the House. But let us not destroy a good system which has been brought. Let us build up, because we only have NHIF. And I've had people complain that... people complain that there are debt spending bills for NHIF. If you look at these spending bills for NHIF, they were not there. They did not start with what maybe President Ruto's government has as a pending bill is very minimal. There's a lot. So what I'm saying is that it cannot be when ndugu yangu Mkatoliki is in power, I'm also a Catholic, I don't see my other brothers complain. I just humbly want to request them that if we have pending bills, let them be treated like any other. And that should not be the reason to criticize the Social Health Authority. So my brother, humbly, I'm requesting you, in the floor of the House. I'm not in Parliament.
There's no House.
Well, where you... then you should resign. Okay. You should resign. Excuse me.
Yes, I'm following.
Just 1 minute. Yes. What I'm saying is, we have the primary health care. Push for more money. Cut even...
Devolve health. Health is not devolved.
Okay.
You know,
devolve health.
Excuse me. Let me tell him one thing. If you look at the incompetencies, inefficiencies within county, and you'll agree with me, within county government is worse than national government. And even in devolving health, the central government must still provide the parameters.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I'll take some quick feedback.
I don't know what you are thinking.
Let's
because
bring up some feedback, and then I'd like to hear you take your closing remarks, and I'll start with you, Nyamori, on the panelists of the IBC selection panel. They just concluded the interviews for the chairperson's position. Are you happy with the questioning? Do you believe they'll get the right person? That's on the closing remarks. Let's bring up the feedback real quick and see what you're saying as we wind up on this conversation. At Trevor Mbija, Citizen TV Kenya, use the hashtag Daybreak. Bobo Tieno says dropping of Muturi at a time President William Ruto is planning to tour Mount Kenya, which is gradually slipping away from his grip, is a bad timing and political blunder at a time he was standing with Kenyans against abductions. Okay. Buba says, who will believe the president when he calls someone incompetent? When did he realize that Muturi was incompetent? He moved him from Attorney General to Cabinet Secretary and now claims that he was incompetent as AG. If that were true, why did he appoint him as a CS? Honestly, is he being truthful? Engineer Lazaro says, Muturi succumbs to his own medicine. He has been daring appointing authority to sack him. Okay. Okelo Mwalimu says, Muturi's firing was a matter of time. His direct criticism of his boss was both bold and controversial. However, he must have been eagerly awaiting for the sack in order to use it as a springboard for local political ambitions. Okay. Babu Michael says, President saying Muturi was incompetent is a political statement rather than an accountability statement. He said almost the whole cabinet was incompetent before the Gen Z's protest, abolished the whole of it, and returned almost the whole of it again. Okay. All right. Nyamori. The IBC selection panel is continuing with this. They've concluded the chairperson's positions interviews. What do you make of it? Have they been asking the right questions? Do you believe they'll get the right person? Have they exposed what Kenyans wanted to hear?
Yeah, I think we have had an opportunity to set up IBC, and so Kenyans were given a chance. The people who applied and were interviewed were those who had offered themselves. Choices to be made. We cannot go back on the process. I think questions have been asked. I'm thinking they could have been more, intrusive in finding out details about this particular candidate. But for me, I think in the mix we see new faces definitely, which if picked would bring in new energy and new spirit. But we also see old and experienced individuals. I see, for instance, Honorable Nyachai, I see Amadi, and a few others who have had experience in public life and have led institutions successfully. And so I hope that the process would be completed properly, and even the interviews for the commissioners, that Honorable Manzo and his team will not run back to court. At least they are represented. I can see the face of their group in the panel, so that we conclude this process and we prepare for elections.
Okay. Yeah. And now 30 seconds for your closing remark.
Yeah. My closing remark is that Kenya belongs to all of us. We don't have any other Kenya. I would want to appeal to every aspect, every group in the country, and especially the young people. I mean, I grew up in youth activism, and I can tell them that yes, streets and criticism from across the river would be important, but when you're given a golden chance to cross over, please take it and cross over, come to the decision-making table, take your space. And a few of the younger people have been brought in. Utilize them to push your interest. I would still appeal to those who remain the other side, who do not want to come to the table, that, this president, if there's anything that he will be remembered for, it will be the fact that he deliberately decided to bring all Kenyans to the decision-making table, and he's willing to compromise so as to ensure that everybody feels to be part of government.
Okay.
Welcome to this government.
Manzo, the IBC selection panel.
Yes, what we want, the selection of IBC chair is a very important thing for the country. If you really want to hold the country together, and if you're true to nationhood, we all want a good nation, and that's why we all want good leaders. It all starts with the IBC, because that's what controls the elections. So we want a chairperson who is totally independent and who is not likely to be compromised and who is likely to hold the nation together and stand out for the truth. You know, it's not a must you re-elect the president. If the country decides to have a new president, it should be given that opportunity. It should not be denied by individual. So we're looking forward to see who they arrive at, and as Kenyans, make sure that that person then is up to the task. If he's not, of course, we have the courts till we get the right thing. That's where we get the country right or wrong. It begins with the chair of IBC.
All right, Charles, finally.
Thank you so much. I think we have stayed for long without IBC. We have constituencies which have suffered. We have constituencies which lost MPs as early as 6 months through natural attrition. We also have other movements that have taken place, some members of parliament becoming CSS and so on. So it's high time we establish IBC because it can put us into a very big crisis. And I hope people are given opportunity to apply. People applied. I think the team is all-inclusive. I hope Mwanzo's interests are taken care of in that team. And we hope we are going to get the best Kenyan to run IBC. Right. So I don't expect any big challenge in selection for the chair of IBC and again the members. Remember, it's taking about it's going to take over a month again, up to almost a month, up to around 24th of April. And I hope Mwanzo will not bring complications. But it is democracy. If he so feels that the selection is not appropriate and he chooses to go to court, but I hope that devil will not come in between us. Otherwise, what I can say is
we'll not go to the selection panel.
It is not a must that the president must be re-elected. Even Trump lost in his second term and came back. I can tell you, Mwanzo, I wish you would be a presidential candidate. If you would inherit the problems the sitting president inherited and the challenges, though we know very well we had other factors. We had COVID issues and so on. We had issues of overborrowing. And that is why I've always said, let's focus on how we improve our economy, not on the president.
Thank you, gentlemen. Honorable Dan Manzo, Senator from Makueni, Charles Owino, Head of the National Communications Center, Joshua Nyamori, Advocate and Governance Expert, and Dr. Christopher Wanjau, Secretary, National Registration Bureau, was here earlier on discussing IDs. We're now taking a quick break. When you come back, it's time for cooking tips, and thank you all for staying in the State of the Nation. My name is Trevor Ombija. Bye for now.